Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video we're going to be learning how to make this wire wrapped bracelet using memory wire as a core. And I really like this style of bracelet because you can slide it right on. We could have made it a little shorter, but I wanted to use up all the beads. But I really like bracelets that just sit right there on my wrist. And let's go ahead and get started, you guys. You can use whatever beads or wire that you want to, but I'm going to be specific about what I'm using. That way, if you're following along exactly, you'll know what to do. But I think the techniques translate really well into whatever size bracelet, whatever beads, whatever you're doing, you can adapt it and figure it out. You're very clever. So for this bracelet that sits kind of midway on my forearm, which I really enjoy, especially when I'm doing like belly dancey stuff and different things, this one used 12 beads. Today I'm going to make one that sits with just 10 beads, like big beads. And so these are 6mm, and then I'm using a size 8 in a translucent slate. And we have our stainless steel clasp, some memory wire, and an array of tools: memory wire cutters, regular wire snips, mandrel pliers, bent nose, and flat nose pliers. And everything will be linked down in the video description. And I think I'm gonna start with just one full round of this memory wire. So however much that is, and this is currently sitting at like a 3.5 diameter, but it sizes down really nicely too. And then we're going to come in and use the smallest nose on our mandrel pliers. You could use round nose pliers for this, but I really like these stepped mandrel pliers because they let me build up this coil, if you can see how we're doing here. And it's the same size, whereas if I were using round nose pliers that have a taper, that can be a little tricky, but it's totally doable, just my preference. And so from here, you can see that that used about almost an inch of wire. And that's important to remember for later. Now I'm going to be doing our coiling today with 24 gauge, just because it's nice and stout. And I'm going to pull off a full arm span. I don't think it's going to use all of that. And I know that everybody's arm span is different, but whenever, you know, it's kind of rough about, so about 5 feet. And so now from here, I'm going to start here at this end. And we're going to do 10 coils. So let me grab, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then we go give it the old squishy smush. And I am going to go ahead and just trim off this little bit of excess here, or you can bring it around. And this can be a great way to cover up your little pokey end there, if you want. So you could take this and sew it through this double loop that we've made with our memory wire. 2, 3, 4, and 5. But if you're planning on doing this all the way around, you may want to make your loop a little larger, because you can see this kind of eats up some of the real estate there on the inside of the loop. And I want to snip this and give it enough material that we can tuck it to the inside. And this stops us from having a little loosey-goosey tail end of our wire to get snagged in our hair or clothing or what have you. So yeah, we'll just smush that on around. There we go. But that part is completely optional. And so now I'm going to find, whoop, and this is why I do an arm span, is because I can splay my arms out and I'll be able to find the ends. whoop, right there. Whereas if it's longer than an arm span, that gets cumbersome and tricky, and I usually get tangled in like the tripod and the fan and all the different things. That is such an interesting color. Okay, let me grab a separate one of these little trays. There we go. For these beads. That translucent slate has such like an ethereal, milky grayness to it that I'm kind of digging. And you could use whatever color of beads that you like. And so we're just going to thread on one bead of the size 8 to start the pattern. And you could do whatever pattern that you like, really. So we're just gonna whip stitch it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Full rotation. So actually when I come back up, there we go. It's to get consistent bead placement. I like to make sure that my wire's always exiting kind of perpendicular out away from the project. And so finding the tip of our wire again, I'm now going to thread on one size 8, one 6mm, and then one size 8. And this it's a dyed jasper, but I think it's just gorgeous. I love that kind of sky blue turquoise paired with that magenta-y purple. So most important thing is to use beads that make you happy. And so just bringing that on around, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, whoop. Now see what happened there is I started backtracking on myself, and so if that happens, it's okay. We'll just open it up, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then come back up this way. Now I don't push too hard because that can kind of pinch this beading pattern in on itself. If you do that, I'd recommend just being consistent because it makes it look, there's no right or wrong way, but consistency makes it look very intentional. Or you can totally lean into just the pure chaos aspect of it. So, so long as it is pretty, either to you or someone else, or if it's pretty, if it holds together, and if it's comfortable to wear, then you did it right. And pretty is pretty subjective, so that's okay. So we've got that other bead on there, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And again, I want it exiting up that way, and we can smush that on down. And we are just going to repeat this bead pattern of add 1 bead, 5 coils, 3 beads, 5 coils, 1 bead, 5 coils, 3 beads, 5 coils, until we get, I'm going to be doing 10 beads. So I will meet you back here for that. So if you're starting to get the hang of it and you want things to move along a little more quickly, you can go ahead and pre-string your wire with your bead pattern, which I think that's pretty nice. And that way you can kind of see how the colors are going to look. And I especially like this for whenever I'm doing like a couch craft day where I'm watching a bunch of YouTube videos or have a show on, or if I'm just sitting and chit-chatting with some friends, then I can go ahead and get my beads all strung up, and then I can almost autopilot my way through doing the rest of the bracelet. So I think you're getting the, oh, and I wasn't doing the right, I need 3 in between each one. Oh no. So through the magic of editing, let's go ahead and get this strung up proper. 1 6mm separated by 3 size 8. So I've finished this on just 2 in that bead sequence, 2 of those little size 8. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm actually just going to make a little knot, more or less, at the end of my wire. Just a little clumped up bunch of it, and that's going to keep all of my beads from sliding off. And so now, autopilot mode activate. We can slide down 1, 2, 3 of our beads. Woo, there they go. and then coil 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now be warned, beads strung onto a wire haphazardly like this are one of the best cat toys on the planet, I do think. Whoop, and then I'm getting all tangled in my pliers. These struggles are real. It's okay. If there's stuff getting tangled up, instead of fighting against it, just scoot your pliers. It's not the end of the world. And just remove as many variables as you can to reduce the friction in your project. 3, 4, and 5. Ending on traveling up, and then sliding those beads down, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we will just continue on in this manner now. So we've reached how many beads we would like to have, and I've finished on just that single and then 10 more coils. And now this is important to remember, we had about an inch of wire. So I'm going to measure out about an inch and then snip it. I just eyeball stuff, y'all. Like, it doesn't have to be super, you can use a ruler and stuff, but you really don't, it doesn't have to be perfect. And now I'm going to come in and I'm just going to grip and coil this around, and it actually looks like I used a little much, but just by a smidge actually. And then with the spring back, that actually turned out all right. So now I'm going to trim until we have about 6 inches of wire, and this is going to let us do that whip stitch finisher around all the lengths of our coils. 2, 3, 4, and let's go ahead and do 5 just for good measure. It's a nice round number. And squishing that. And then from here, I'm just going to get in there and snip. Reel up close to where it's coming out. And then we can take our pliers, give it the old squish smush. There we go. And so, and you can see this is sitting kind of weird, and I like memory wire that's a little bit bigger than my wrist, just because, again, it gives, it's, especially with my thicker wrists, it's really nice to be able to have something that has some movement and fun, like bangly feel to it. So now we have our clasp. And I'm going to use some of this extender chain, which is a 19 gauge wire made into like a 4x3 oval chain. I get this from theringlord.com, and I like to give myself about 2 inches. And I'm just going to open up one of the links, and I'm going to attach this to one end. And then we can actually just use another link. Makes it look all matching. And then we can hook through here, and I like to hook my clasp on. Whenever I'm placing my clasp on, I try to make sure that it's just naturally oriented to where the lever part of the clasp is easy to reach. And then I'm gonna, to put this on, I like that little bit of extender chain, if only so I have something to hold on to. And then I'm going to open up our clasp, and we can come around, and there we go, and just hook it. In this way, I can stack bracelets, and I just love it. You don't have to do the extender chain, but I enjoy it. Sometimes I'll put little charms on them so they can hang down and be fun, but it's mostly there for our customers to be able to, you know, if you wanted to wear one of these like over a long sleeve shirt, or if you wanted, you know, to be able to share your jewelry with friends and you'll have different size wrists or different preferences, that's really nice. But so that is how these bracelets look, and I just love them. Like, really. I do enjoy using a clasp with memory wire as well, even whenever it's the smaller memory wire and you can have like multiple lengths of it. If it's less than multiple lengths, I'll go ahead and use a clasp. If it's like 3 or 4 lengths, I won't bother. But there we go. Hey y'all, thanks so much for hanging out with me during this video. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please do leave them down below and I'll do my best to get back to you. If you have any requests for future tutorials as well, I would love to hear about that. If you craft along with us, be sure to tag us at Back to Earth Creations on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and here on YouTube, as well as you can do hashtag craft along with Vaughn. That way, not just my husband and I, but anybody who searches the hashtag can see what you're working on. If you are interested in participating in our behind the scenes stuff and exclusive content and Happy Crafter Club and all those different things, links to all of that are down in the video description, but they are in no way required to be able to participate in our free tutorials. So I just want to thank you for being here and for watching this, and I hope that it was helpful and informative to you. And yeah, until next time, you guys, happy crafting. Sign up for our free newsletter at backtoearthcreations.com so you don't miss out on anything. Okay, that was the important part. Okay, bye guys, happy crafting. Mwah. Bye.